Asha Degree vanished from her Shelby, North Carolina home just before dawn on Valentine's Day in the year 2000. It was a normal night for her family and her parents had tucked her into bed without issue. Asha shared a room with her older brother, O'Brien. He told investigators he heard her bed squeak in the middle of the night but thought that it was just Asha shifting positions in bed. But it was Asha getting up to leave. 2 drivers reported seeing her at around 4 a.m. One of the drivers even turned around to see if she was okay, but Asha ran off into the woods. The very next day, police found Asha Degree's hair bow in a nearby shed. They spent the next 7 days and 9,000 hours searching a 2-by-3 mile area and found nothing. They also combed through 300 tips, none of which panned out. Construction workers found Asha's backpack on August 3, 2001, while digging an access road 30 miles away from Asha's home. Unfortunately, it produced no new leads. Oddly, 2 different inmates claim to have known what happened to Asha. But police have been unable to rely on their information. To this day, Asha Degree is still missing.
Degree. You remember she went missing 25 years ago on Valentine's Day. Back in September, we told you how law enforcement was working to connect new details of the case.
WBTV's Jason Puckett has been digging through these new search warrants. Jason, what is in these new documents?
Yeah, these 3 new warrants were released here today at the Law Enforcement Center in Cleveland County. Now, they call for the seizure and search of cell phones belonging to members of the Dedmon family. Now, you may remember that family was mentioned in warrants put out back in September. Their home also searched today. These warrants showing some text messages and communications between the family. In the fall of 2024, Cleveland County sheriffs carried out a series of search warrants on the home of Roy and Connie Dedmon. Deputies seized evidence, including green vehicles they say matched eyewitness descriptions of the last car Asha Degree entered in 2000. The warrants at the time listed the Dedmons and their witness descriptions of the last car Asha Degree entered in 2000. The warrants at the time listed the Dedmons and their 3 daughters as persons of interest. The new warrants released Tuesday call for the seizure and search of phones belonging to Roy Dedmon and his daughters Lizzie and Sarah. Now, Lizzie would have been 16 at the time of Degree's death. In the warrant, we see a text message from her to middle sister Sarah. It says, "The theory is I did it. Accident. Covered it up." Sarah replies, "No. Why would it be you?" And another text from Sarah to Lizzie. Sarah says, "They think it's our shirt. It's not her shirt. Her mom said it wasn't hers." Sarah then adds, "I don't remember that shirt. I'm scared though. Dad is probably going to be a huge suspect." In the last text referenced in the warrant, Lizzie tells Sarah, "I mean, I want to do what Dad says." Later, Sarah texts, "You don't want something we do or say impact him, but we also can't be living like this either." The warrants also share testimony from a friend of the Dedmons who came forward after their
warrants in the ongoing investigation into the disappearance of Asha Degree.
You remember she went missing 25 years ago on Valentine's Day. Back in September, we told you how law enforcement was working to connect new details of the case.
WBTV's Jason Puckett has been digging through these new search warrants. Jason, what is in these new documents?
Yeah, these 3 new warrants were released here today at the Law Enforcement Center in Cleveland County. Now, they call for the seizure and search of cell phones belonging to members of the Dedmon family. Now, you may remember that family was mentioned in warrants put out back in September. Their home also searched today. These warrants showing some text messages and communications between the family. In the fall of 2024, Cleveland County sheriffs carried out a series of search warrants on the home of Roy and Connie Dedmon. Deputies seized evidence, including green vehicles they say matched eyewitness descriptions of the last car Asha Degree entered in 2000. The warrants at the time listed the Dedmons and their 3 daughters as persons of interest. The new warrants released Tuesday call for the seizure and search of phones belonging to Roy Dedmon and his daughters Lizzie and Sarah. Now, Lizzie would have been 16 at the time of Degree's death. In the warrant, we see a text message from her to middle sister Sarah. It says, "The theory is I did it. Accident. Covered it up." Sarah replies, "No. Why would it be you?" And another text from Sarah to Lizzie. Sarah says, "They think it's our shirt. It's not her shirt. Her mom said it wasn't hers." Sarah then adds, "I don't remember that shirt. I'm scared though. Dad is probably going to be a huge suspect." In the last text referenced in the warrant, Lizzie tells Sarah, "I mean, I want to do what Dad says." Later, Sarah texts, "You don't want something we do or say impact him, but we also can't be living like this either." The warrants also share testimony from a friend of the Dedmons who came forward after their home was searched last year. He told detectives that he was at a house party in the 2000s when he overheard a, quote, heavily intoxicated Lizzie say she had killed Asha Degree before being shushed by her sister Sarah. Now, I want to read for you one last section here of the warrant. This is from February 10th, 8 days ago. It says a detective here approached Lizzie Foster, asked her to take a polygraph test. She was asked whether she was concealing information, quote, and was found to be deceptive. Now, keep in mind, this warrant is basing information they've gathered so far. They are going to seize those phones of those family members, so we're expecting to see more coming out as this investigation continues. For now, though, here live in Cleveland County, Jason Puckett, WBTV, on your side.
That's bombshell information. Jason, thank you. Just last Friday marked 25 years of searching for Asha Degree.
Why not just tell the truth? What are you gaining from this? You see the pain, you see the stress every year.
Last September, warrants revealed Connie and Roy Dedman were listed as suspects. At this time, no one has been charged in the case, but now officials are sharing new details about the further involves the Dedmans, including potential confessions.
Back in September of last year, a friend of the Dedman girls says he was at a party back in the mid-2000s when Lizzie Dedman was what he called sobbing and bawling while extremely intoxicated. He said Lizzie made several statements confessing to murder, saying she said, quote, "I killed Asha Degree," with her middle sister Sarah Gwen Capel quickly grabbing her head and telling her to shut up. The friend was tested on a polygraph test to verify the information. He passed. Documents also highlight text messages between Lizzie, her sisters, and her ex-husband Kelly back in September. Lizzie also sent texts to her sister Sarah after a conversation with the family's lawyer saying, quote, "I just talked to David Teddy, and the theory is I did it. Accident, covered it up." Her sister Sarah then replies, "Why would it be you?" Documents also show text messages between Lizzie and her ex-husband Kelly saying, quote, "I'm just so worried, so worried," and, quote, "I don't know what to do. I caused this." He replies, quote, "No, you didn't."
And officials did approach Lizzie during that same month of September to discuss new information offered in a polygraph test. Initially, she declined. However, just last week, officials reapproached Lizzie Foster. They say she became very emotional and agreed to take the test. She was then asked if she was concealing information and was found to be deceptive.
You realize, that's when I realized what I missed out on. But I thank God for the 9 years that we did get to have her. She's the first thing I think of when I get up in the morning, and the last thing I think of when I go to bed. We never forget. I will never forget as long as I draw breath.
We ask you, God, to bless this family. Continue to use them, God. Continue to give them this courage, God. Continue to lift them up, God. Continue to bless all of us who will come out today with their beautiful praise, God. You all we have to hold on to, God. Oh, in the midnight hour when we begin to cry, Father, we gotta look at you, God, and say, God, help us do this.
We finally have some updates in the case of Asha Degree. Asha, who went missing when she was only 9 years old on February 14th of 2000. And once again, these updates are linking back to the family of Roy Dedman. In September of 2024, authorities searched multiple of the Dedmans' properties. They took away a green vehicle that looked an awful lot like the one described that Asha Degree got into all those years ago. And now, as of February 13th, 3 new search warrants have been issued. And these search warrants involve the daughters of Roy Dedman. Back then, Lizzie Dedman, now known as Lizzie Foster, was 16 years old, and her sister Sarah Dedman was 15 years old. And a man who used to attend house parties with them came forward after the September 2024 searches. And what he said is that at one point they were at a house party and Lizzie was drunk, she was visibly upset, and she said that she killed Asha Degree. And her sister, Sarah, then responded to her angrily to shut the F up. And polygraphs are not admissible in court in South Carolina. However, that man took a polygraph test and he passed. He said that he 100% trusts his memory on this. In the search warrants from February 13th, investigators with the Cleveland County Sheriff's Office say they believe that there is evidence to indicate that Sarah, Lizzie, and Roy Dedman engaged in obstruction of justice in connection to the case of Asha Degree. And here are some of the very suspicious text messages that were sent from the 2 girls to their ex-husband to Roy Dedman. One of the texts says, "The theory is I did it. Accident, covered it up."
Now, you guys, 25 years ago on February 14th of 2000, 9-year-old Asha Degree vanished from her home in Shelby, North Carolina. So Asha lived with her mother Aquila, her father Harold, and her older brother O'Brien. And on the night of February 13th, they did not have power because there was an accident nearby that knocked out all the power. So Asha and O'Brien, they laid in the living room for a little while, but around 12:30 a.m. on the 14th, that's when the power was restored. And that's when they go inside of their rooms and they go to bed. So around 2:30 a.m., Harold is saying that's when he decides to go to bed, and O'Brien is saying that he saw Asha get up and go to the bathroom. O'Brien is saying that after that, he did see his sister go back to the bed, but he did hear some noises. So he's not really paying attention to these noises because he's thinking it's just Asha trying to get comfortable in bed. But it wouldn't be until that next morning when Aquila goes into the room to wake the kids up that she would notice something that is completely off. O'Brien is in the bed, but Asha is not in her bed. So she calls around the house for Asha. She goes around looking. She goes out to both cars, but she still does not find 9-year-old Asha anywhere. So there is also family members that live on that street. She checks with them and they have not seen Asha as well, making his mother go ahead and call the police. So they kick into action. They do this widespread search. They even do roadblocks, stopping cars, seeing if anybody has seen Asha. And on Highway 18, 2 truck drivers actually saw that they saw somebody who looked like Asha.
It doesn't take long for the roadblock to pay off.
I seen her about this time yesterday morning, just below this road that cuts off right back here. Has anybody talked to you? I called her.
Richard Garrison thinks he saw Asha yesterday.
So sightings of Asha on Highway 18. The most credible sighting was the one from Richard Garrison. Now he's saying that he saw Asha, but he didn't stop her because he really didn't know what the situation was. But he's saying that looking back, he wished that he would have stopped and maybe called police. So there being a credible sighting of Asha, this makes police heighten their search because they believe that she could be in the area. But you guys, that lead goes nowhere and police will not get another lead until 18 months later. So more than a year later, Asha's backpack will be discovered in trash bags.
On my way to look at a job, I was explaining to my wife, and she just threw both hands over her mouth, oh my God.
His wife recognized the name. It was the name of that 9-year-old girl that she'd seen plastered all over the television.
So this man is saying that he had no idea that he had found Asha's backpack. It wasn't until he went home and told his wife what he found and the names on some of the stuff in the backpack where his wife was like, that is a 9-year-old that is missing. So police, they get the backpack, they go through it, and what they find is completely odd. So some of the contents inside of that backpack did not belong to Asha. There was a Dr. Seuss book that was in there that didn't belong to Asha, but it did come from her school. There was also a shirt that said New Kids on the Block that did not belong to Asha as well. Now, what did belong to Asha was her basketball uniform that was inside of their backpack. So her mom is baffled because Asha was extremely upset. Not long before she went missing, Asha's team actually lost the basketball game and Asha felt like it was her fault. Making people pose the question, did Asha leave in the middle of the night thinking that losing this game was her fault and she didn't want to go to school? Highway 18 was fairly close to her home. Did she start walking, going onto Highway 18, and maybe somebody saw her and picked her up? Now, y'all, sadly, the case goes cold. We wouldn't get another update until 2016. When police come forward and say, hey, we have reason to believe that Asha might have gotten into this vehicle. So it was a very distinct green 1970s Lincoln. This is so significant because in 2024, there will be another piece of evidence that comes out in this case that is tied to this green car and that will lead police to do a raid at a home.
Local, state, and federal agents swarmed this and another house for the last 2 days. It's on this man, Roy Lee Dedman's property. He nor a woman he was with at the time wanted to speak on camera other than to just wave and tell us to have a good day. Police are serving those search warrants on his property, canvassing the area, and collecting evidence. The evidence including this car, which matches the color of a car that police told us about back in 2016.
Who is Roy Lee Dedman and how is he connected to Asha's case? So it turns out that Roy and his wife Connie had 3 daughters, Anna Lee, Sarah, and Lizzie. Anna Lee would have been 13 around the time of Asha's disappearance, and Lizzie and Sarah would have been 15 and 16. So there was some DNA found on Asha's items, and that DNA was linked to a man by the name of Russell Underhill and to Anna Lee. So Russell Underhill actually died in 2004, which would have been about 4 years after Asha was last seen. Now, y'all, this is the connection between Russell and Roy and Connie Dedmon. So Roy and Connie ran this care facility, and Russell actually stayed in that care facility, meaning Russell was under the care of Roy and Connie. Now, this is where the story gets kind of strange, because Lizzie, which was one of the daughters, would occasionally drive that green car back and forth to take patients to different facilities. Meaning at some point in time, Russell had to have been in that vehicle that was confiscated from the property of Roy and Connie. And he had to have been in the car with Lizzie at some point in time. Now, the reason why Lizzie's name is sticking out, remember, this is one of the daughters as well, is because this year, on the 25th anniversary of Asha's disappearance, y'all, we get an extremely shocking update. So back in the 2000s, this man is claiming that he was at a party with Lizzie and Sarah. And he's saying that at some point in time, Lizzie got completely drunk and she told him that she unalived Asha. Now, he's saying that Sarah quickly made Lizzie be quiet, but he thought that that was extremely strange. Now, the reason why this is so crazy is because just now, police will come out with more information about Lizzie. So last year in 2024, when police did that raid and they went to the Dedmon's home and they confiscated the green car, Lizzie got scared. Now, they asked Lizzie to do a polygraph test, and at first Lizzie declined. So later on, she took another polygraph test where it was shown that she was being deceptive. Now, after all of that, y'all, Lizzie started to send text messages to her family. And in these text messages, Lizzie looked like she was completely guilty. She was afraid. And she basically was like, look, I don't know what I need to do. I'm scared. I think that something is about to happen. And I'm thinking, if you had nothing to do with this, if you know you didn't hurt Asha, why are you so afraid? Like, what are they doing now? What's going to happen to me since I wouldn't talk to them? I'm afraid it's going to get worse. Well, he told me it's going to. Hey, is everybody mad at me? Lizzie's sister responds and said, nobody is, Lizzie. This is not your fault. Now, Lizzie went on to text her ex-husband saying that she felt so horrible. She felt like she's the person who caused this. And in a lot of those messages, she expressed how afraid she was for her father. Now, y'all, let me say this. Asha has never been found. And I'm going to tell you exactly what I believe happened to Asha Degree. I believe that Asha might have been upset and she left her home thinking that everybody was mad at her about that game. At some point in time in that early morning, Lizzie drove by and saw Asha. Seeing as that Lizzie was a teenager, she was a girl, Asha probably trusted her and got inside of that car. Now, at some point in time, Asha is unalived. And I do believe that the Dedmons know exactly what happened to Asha because they helped their daughter cover it up. This is 25 years later. Why would you be so afraid that they're raiding your home? Now, another thing I want to point out is, why did they keep that green car over 25 years? Most people would have gotten rid of the car. Most people would have sold the car by now. I think they kept that car because they wanted to make sure that that car was in nobody else's hands. Now, y'all, I'm hoping that since all of this new information is coming out, that there would be an arrest in Asha's case very soon. There is no doubt in my mind that somebody picked Asha up in this car. Was it Roy Lee Dedmon, or was it one of his daughters? Now, let me say this. Everyone is innocent until proven guilty. We're not accusing anyone of anything. But I think that the key to finding out what actually happened to Asha is going to be with the Dedmons. Now, as always, you guys, comment below, share this. Let's get some more answers in this case. And I will keep you guys updated if any more information comes out.
Breaking freaking news. There has been a potential confession made in the Asha Degree case. Y'all, this is huge. So if y'all are not familiar with the Asha Degree case from the early 2000, a little girl was walking and spotted on a very busy highway in North Carolina and has never been found, right? She was, I want to say 9 years old, 8 years old. I've been following this case for the longest time, y'all. They have made a connection to who might have done this. So this is right here. Law enforcement believe a Cleveland County man and two of his daughters may have interfered with the investigation into the February 2000 appearance of Asha Degree. More than 25 years ago, the 9-year-old Asha Degree went missing. Pause to read, you guys. Pause to freaking read. And there are text messages of the girl, the teenage girl who was a teenager at the time, saying that the shirt that was found was her shirt. Pause to freaking read, y'all. These are the text messages. There's more. So many text messages. This is so crazy. Oh my God. When I tell y'all this is the year of all this stuff getting exposed, I am so happy they found out. But y'all, this is who they, I feel like this lead has been a lead for a long time. but this man worked at a funeral home, and the funeral home was not too far from where Asha Degree disappeared. They're saying that they believe it was, one thing led to another, and yeah, they ended up accidentally unaliving her and covering it up all these years. But y'all, this is crazy. Pause to read. These are the text messages. This is huge.
Warrants uncovered text messages that could point to a suspect in the disappearance of Asia Degree. 25 years ago, she disappeared. New search warrants were released Tuesday in the search of Asia Degree, the 9-year-old Shelby, North Carolina girl who went missing on Valentine's Day night 25 years ago. The warrants showed that law enforcement took the cell phones of Lizzie Foster, the daughter of a Cleveland County man whose property was searched by the federal agents last September. Foster was 16 at the time of Degree's disappearance, according to the warrant. In September, a search warrant revealed that investigators believed Degree was a victim of homicide and that her body was concealed. The FBI, along with the state of local investors, searched a Cleveland County property for several days, searching for evidence at a property on Sherryville Road in Shelby. That's where investigators recovered a car similar to make and model to one sought during the initial search in Degree in 2000. Witnesses told investigators that Asha was last seen walking along North Carolina Highway 18 on February 14, 2000, before being put into a car similar to the one recovered from the Cherryville Road home. A hair sample found in a bag in Burke County in 2001 pointed detectives to the family on Cherryville Road. David Teddy, the attorney for Roy Demon, the owner of the property that was searched, said the investigation would reveal a now deceased person was responsible for what happened to Asha. Lizzie Foster, the person whose phone was seized by police, is the daughter of Roy Demon. I think there will be info that sadly will link a person to the circumstances of Asha's disappearance who is no longer living. The warrant revealed that the vehicle seized from the Cherryville Road, a 1964 AMC Rambler, was registered to Roy Demon. His daughter, Sarah Gwen Capel, told detectives that the car was given to her by Demon when she was 16. On September 18th, 2024, a man went to the Cleveland County Sheriff's Office and spoke with detectives about the case. He told detectives that when he was in his 20s in the mid-2000s, he occasionally frequented bars and parties with Sarah and Lizzie Demon. Melton recalled one party with Lizzie was sobbing and bawling and made several statements that she killed Asia. Melton claimed that Lizzie's sister heard her comments and got angry, telling her to shut the F up while grabbing her head. Melton said behavior caught him off guard because Sarah was always calm and nice in their interactions. Investigators obtained search warrants for Lizzie Foster's phone. The results came back on October 27th, including several messages of interest linked to the case by Foster, her sisters, Anna Lee Demon, and Sarah Capel. This is a nightmare, Capel texted to Liz Foster. I'm like shaky and can't walk now either. There's also a text message from Foster's ex-husband who said he was sorry for what their family was going through. Annalie Demond also told her sister Lizzie, you don't need to be talking to anyone, urging her to break off any communication about the case without an attorney present. I'm just so worried, Foster texted her ex-husband. So worried. I mean, it's a nightmare. I'm going to keep getting worse. I can see nothing happening anytime soon, and I'm an optimist. She later told him there is no way this is going to be okay. Foster again texted Capel on September 12th.
saying investigators believe that she could be suspected. I just talked to David Teddy, she wrote. The theory is I did it, accident, covered it up. Foster later texted her ex-husband that she caused this. Further text messages reveal a scrambling between the parties over what to do in light of the September 2024 developments. Another denying to take a polygraph test in September 2024. Foster agreed to take one this month, according to the search warrants. She was found to be deceptive. Willie Key, Asha's great uncle, revealed that detectives recently met with the family. All I heard was one detective say it was getting like we were getting to the end of it, Key said. William believes the text messages provided investigators with valuable leverage during the interviews. These are really interesting text messages. I don't know many people who would write those kind of text messages if they had nothing to do with the incident. Williams, a former FBI agent and federal prosecutor, said the text messages for investigation purposes allow the investigators to probe more. He explained that sometimes leads to an admission. The former FBI agent expressed optimism that the case progression. There's a possibility that they could be closer to solving it, Williams said. When you have information such as text message, you could get closer to getting the revelation from the parties involved. No charges have been filed in the case at the time.